It's a Thursday morning here in the Midwest. Ryan Droste with Zack Heydorn, and it's feeling a little bit like fall outside this morning, Zach. It's not too hot. I'm liking this weather. We're here to talk a little pro wrestling, as always. Here, at One True Sport Daily. Like I said, I'm Ryan Droste of the Top Rope Nation podcast with my guy Zack Heydorn of Brass Ring Media. Zach, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Loving the weather too. It's like a cool 72 here in Chicago right now.
Yeah.
And I will take it. And pretty sizzling night of action on AEW last night. I'm sure we'll get to all that. And just pumped to be here. We were off yesterday. So we need to get our fix in today, and I think we will. So good to see everybody.
Yeah. If you guys missed it yesterday, in our time slot was Kurt Angle, so I can't complain too much. Kurt Angle was here on the channel doing a Q&A with Paul, and it was good stuff. I watched most of it, and so if you haven't seen it, check it out in the archives here on the One True Sport YouTube channel. One True Sport Daily usually streams here at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, each and every day with Zach and myself. So while you're here, if you can help out the channel, subscribe, like the video. If you want to become a member of One True Sport, go to onetruesport.com to figure out how you can get all kinds of great benefits, great merch. You can get personal question and answer sessions with some of the biggest wrestling legends of all time, like Kurt Angle, like Arn Anderson, like Medusa, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. The list goes on. And of course, Rob Van Dam is headquartered right here as well. So One True Sport Daily is joining a lineup of wrestling legends. It's a ton of fun. We love hosting this show, talking about all the latest in the world of pro wrestling each and every day. And you can find Zach and I's show at the links in the broadcast description, or just search Brass Ring Media and Top Rope Nation to support us as well. So, Zach, last night, AEW Dynamite, I thought they have continued once again this streak of really solid television the last several weeks. I mean, we're going back, 4 to 5 weeks. It feels like almost every week they're knocking it out of the park on Dynamite to me. What did you think of last night's show?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good show. Really good show. The hook of the show, of course, was, the Will Ospreay MJF match. And I think that match more than delivered. I mean, that's an epic match. That's an epic television match, an all-timer for Dynamite, and a match that I think we're going to be talking about for a long time. More than just being like a really good match, though, which is what it was, and which is what AEW as a promotion is known for. I think, look, when you go into a Will Ospreay versus MJF match, I think the assumption is like they have such a high bar to clear already because the expectations are so high. And they cleared that bar. And sometimes I think in past history of AEW, the focus has been on, oh man, we got to deliver this good match at all costs. Everything else be damned. And last night, they did both. I mean, they did both things. They took care of the match. They delivered a match that lived up to and exceeded expectations. But then they also, set the hook for business later on. Like there's a reason now for MJF and Will Ospreay to wrestle again at All In. You had MJF win the match with underhanded tactics. The ref was down. He used the Dynamite Diamond Ring. And it all made sense. Like it didn't feel like an escape hatch. Oh, we don't want to do a finish type finish. It was, no, this is a finish that makes sense for MJF's character. It's a finish that can lead to the next match. I thought to that end, it was a really smart way to book a pretty complicated match, especially with the pay-per-view not too far away. So I give this, an absolute thumbs up. I thought some other stuff on the show was good too, but this is going to be the thing that most people remember it for. I'm sure we'll get into the blood and guts hype in a little while. And I think there's some problems there, but all things considered, like, this match delivered. This was the main event. This needed to be a home run, and it was. So, thumbs up.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see the rating for this show, just because they open with this match, and it's the primary match advertised for the show. I mean, I guess, you got Swerve and Okada as well, but I mean, these two getting in the ring, everyone thought that this was going to be the match at All In, and then they do it here. Now it looks like yeah, they are maybe setting up the rematch for All In, but as the thing gets going, it's looking like they're going to go Broadway and just go the distance and do a draw. So I was a little bit surprised by the ending where Max wins with 2 seconds on the clock or whatever it was. But as you said, underhanded, used the ring to get the win, and so they're going to push for the rematch, I would assume. I enjoyed the match. It was 59 minutes and 58 seconds long. It didn't feel that long, though. I mean, you had a couple of commercial breaks, but it seemed like they kept the commercials light. I think there was only maybe 3 commercial breaks during the entire hour, something like that. You didn't get to the first one until like well over 20 minutes in. So, I mean, highlights, I loved when they would fight in the crowd. Now, obviously, the little girl who was punching Max was pretty
crazy.
Funny. I see that her dad is already tweeting out the video on Twitter. So they
really?
Okay. They are, yeah. I think Ospreay retweeted it with some laugh emojis or something. Yeah, MJF was awesome. Anytime he went in the crowd, healing it up. I'm so glad we got heel MJF back. It's just so much better than him trying to do the babyface thing. You agree?
Oh man, yes, it's so much better. He's more comfortable. He's just better. I mean, he's just better. Like, it's kind of like Randy Orton's kind of a bad example right now. But if you look back at like prime Randy Orton, it was like that guy he just can't be a babyface. He's just too much of an arrogant jerk to like be a babyface. And I think the same thing with MJF. Like, you could laugh at some of his stuff because he can be silly, but like his main event personality and draw is as a heel. And I think you've seen that now just in the 2 weeks since he's officially, turned back. It's just obvious, clear as day, that's the reality that he needs to live with, and that Tony Khan needs to live with, at least at this point, for the foreseeable future. Who knows down the road, but for now, he's a heel, and that's that. One thing that about the match that stood out, I got the feeling like maybe like 45 minutes in, 45 minutes in, that like the crowd kind of, they built the crowd up and then they like came down almost when it seemed like they were just, okay, we know what's going on here. Like they're going 60 minutes. They're going 60 minutes. We get it. We know what's happening. And I felt that a little bit too. Like, okay, I guess they're going to go the distance here. If that makes sense, they can get to the next match that way. But then, the last 10 minutes, they pulled that audience like right back in. And with like all the spots in the middle of the ring, those strikes, all that like counter sequence that they did, like I thought that was like impressive work to like, the AEW crowd is a pretty smart crowd. I think they can tell like kind of what's happening. And so to like pull them back with that, I thought was just an impressive feat for both those guys. And, MJF as a heel, yes, thumbs up. That's the way it should be. But also like, we got to like start talking about that guy as like a top tier in-ring worker too. Not just character, because he delivers in these matches when he needs to. And yeah, he's not out there every week, and yeah, he's not always doing stuff like Will Ospreay, but he comes up big in the big moments, and I think he did last night too.
Yeah, excellent match. I know you'll probably have your rating up in the Brass Ring Media newsletter if you don't already. I mean, my inclination right off the bat here, just less than 4 hours later, I'd probably be in like the 4.5 star range on this one. It was phenomenal. I wouldn't go the full 5 on it, and I'm not someone that's going to break the scale or anything like that.
No, right.
To me,
right.
like I don't like doing that, but like to me, 5 stars, that's a perfect match. And so, I mean, it's like a 4.5 star match, maybe slightly higher. It was really good. I mean, this is probably a top 10 match in company history, top 15 for sure. I mean, when you look at their top television matches of all time, I mean, the ones that I always think of right away is the Omega Danielson match that they had at the first Grand Slam, Bryan and Hangman, phenomenal television match. I mean, it's right there with those. Would you agree?
Definitely. Like, I think it's in that conversation for best television match in company history for sure. I think you can make that argument. You open up the pay-per-views and then it probably goes down on the list a little bit, and that's okay. I mean, it's just this is a free TV show, so
right.
So yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, we see Andrew's in the chat, Liam's in the chat. Andrew talking about how it lacked a story coming in. I mean, no question about it. They hot-shotted this match right away to try to, bump a rating, episode 250. But like as we talked about last week, trying to finalize that television contract. So it's important to do that. I think the story is in the rematch, really. And Andrew went on to say, real question, not screwing around. What did they leave for Wembley? I think it's the rematch. It's Ospreay coming home, getting his shot at revenge in front of the home crowd, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Carl's saying that in the chat too. Andrew, they left Ospreay getting a crowning moment at Wembley, which is how TK thinks, right or wrong. Go ahead, Zach.
No, that's it. I mean, they nailed it. My analysis is rendered useless here, thanks to our chat. No, I mean that's it. I mean they Ospreay has a belt he can chase now. Going into the Wembley show, they've whet the appetite for fans, and I think there's every reason to want to see these two have a second match. We'll see where they go with the match itself. Like, how do you top what they did? But I think they can. Like, the entire environment's going to be different. There's 3,000 people in the building yesterday in Little Rock, and there's going to be 40,000 or something in Wembley Stadium, something like that. Like, so it's going to be an entirely different environment. The context is going to be totally different. It's going to be MJF defending. So I think they've got a lot of levers to pull if they want to, Andrew. And I think they will. And I think it'll be a good match. I mean, we could do probably like 5 podcasts, 2 hours each, on whether or not these types of matches should be happening for title belts like the International Championship or the Continental Championship. But, it's almost like a moot point, because this is what Tony Khan's doing. Like, he's giving championships and little trinkets to all of his top guys, and they're wrestling other top guys for those belts. And so, yeah, I don't think that's a prudent strategy, but that is what's happening. And so that'd be my only kind of criticism of this, is that this huge match is not happening for the world title. But, you can only beat that drum for so long.
Yeah. Darren in the chat, he'll be at Wembley. Can't wait for it.
Man.
Lucky. It'd be awesome to be at that show. Yeah, 40,000 tickets sold right now. They're probably going to have about 50,000 by the time we get there, I would imagine. Not as big as last year, but that's still a hell of a huge crowd for pro wrestling. So, yeah, it's going to be a great environment for the rematch. Going in, I was a little surprised that once I started realizing what they were doing, and that they were going to go that full hour, because they had a lot of things advertised, like a big match, another big segment. They had Mercedes on the show. I was like, man, they're only giving an hour for that. And it wasn't too long after this. So we had Mercedes. She wrestled Nyla Rose, and the big story in that match was that ringside there was someone wearing a mask holding up a DMD is greater than Mercedes sign, and it turned out to be Britt Baker. And Baker then attacks Mercedes after the match, and then they got to the Mariah May segment not long after that. And last week on Thursday, Zach, we talked for at least 15 minutes on that Mariah May Toni Storm payoff that they finished the show with. And I mean, honestly, I was looking forward to seeing how they were following that up just as much as the 2 big matches advertised for this show. I couldn't wait to see what they would do with Mariah May. And she comes out dressed like Hollywood Toni Storm with that entrance music, and she comes out to the ring. And I'll go to you first, and I'll give my thoughts. What did you think of the follow-up here?
Well, so first of all, I mean, how crazy is it that Mariah May looked exactly like Toni Storm in that getup?
Yes,
like they looked so alike. That was insane. I had to do a double take. I was like, that is Mariah May, but holy smokes, they look exactly alike. Anyway, I like this. I think there's a couple reasons why I liked it so much, and I liked it a lot. The main thing is, I think with you got to play to your crowd. And I think you have to understand your audience. And what I liked about this promo was it seemed like Mariah May worked really hard to do that. I mean, if you listen to like the reaction and you watch that heel turn back, there are cheers out there for Mariah May. I mean, there is, as we talked about last week, a group of people that are cheering her, a group of people that are cheering her and cheering the segment because it's so cool and it was just such a good piece of work. And I thought Mariah May like combated all of that very successfully this week that cadence was so slow where you're almost just like spit it out already. And, she just maintained that all throughout the promo, just talked really slow. And you had to like sit there and kind of like uncomfortably sit through what she was trying to say and her reasoning for, chewing up Toni Storm and spitting her out and using her. And I think she hit all the right notes as far as the content of the promo. But I think that same promo, if it's delivered just normal pro wrestling style, like people are like, yeah, Mariah May's awesome. That's great. That's cool. And I'm an AEW fan. And like, I know what's going on here. And I love Mariah May. And she took that away from the crowd because of how she delivered the promo. She took them away the moment to kind of like get on the journey with her and ended up like talking at that audience. And so I thought she got her point across, and I thought she got it across well. So a really good chapter 2 in this story. I understand why people may be like, oh, it was just so boring. It was so slow. And to that, I would just say, like, I think that was the design from right out of the gate.
Yeah, great point. I totally agree with you on that regard. Now, there's a couple of nitpicks I have with it. I thought, let me just say, I thought it's not about Mariah. I thought Mariah May did a phenomenal job for all the reasons you laid out, taking that away from the crowd so that they would boo her. One of my nitpicks is the crowd itself. And look, Zach, I know you're the Steve Austin guy. Who the hell is doing what chants in 2000? It's been almost 25 years. What are we doing? That was just Little Rock, Arkansas. What chants? Really? Come
on, Little Rock. You're better than that. You're better than the what chant. I don't know. So in the book, we talk a lot about the what chants. Back in the day, they really don't have a place today.
No.
I mean, it's obnoxious. It really is. Sorry, Steve, but it is.
That I did not like. And for that reason, I might have done this as a pre-tape, to be honest with you, just to protect against stuff like that, especially with the way that she was going to do it with the slow delivery and everything. I think in hindsight, it might have been better to do it that way. I know that they wanted to get her out there in front of the crowd and stuff, but you could have done some camera tricks and made it look even more cool, with the black and white and everything. Put her in some kind of mansion or something like that, doing the exact same message, but avoiding the what chants from the crowd and everything. So that was my only nitpick. I think it played pretty well outside of that. I think it's fine, and the story's moving along. That was my only thought when it was over. It was like, I don't know, man. This crowd doing the what chants was pretty cringeworthy. I might have just done this as a pre-tape. But
I mean that would have been cool. Usually AEW does a pretty good job with their pre-tapes, and I think you're right though. I think they wanted to get her out in front of the crowd. It's like it's kind of hard. It's like you think to yourself like, okay, I'm going to take this slow. But usually when that happens, you do get the what chance, and the way to like fix that is to like talk faster and to like don't have those gaps in your promo. But it's like, I don't know that would have worked either. So she was in a tough spot. But like, come on, like that's on you, Little Rock. Shame. If I had a bell, I'd ring it at you.
No, to their credit, they stayed with that hour-long match and did a pretty good job. But yeah, I mean that was bad. Nobody's doing what chants anymore. Let's move beyond that. Let's talk about the main event with Swerve and Kazuchika Okada, and they did a non-finish with interference. The Bucks run out, and this ends up just essentially being a setup for Blood and Guts next week. And I mean, Zach, how are you feeling about Blood and Guts and the teams that they have going in, the build to it, basically everything about it? What are you thinking so far?
I honestly, I think it's just a big whiff, swing and a miss, if you ask me. Not that it's going to be a bad match or anything like that. Like I think once they get it in the ring, it's going to be fun television, and that's goes without saying in AEW a lot of the times, but with Blood and Guts specifically. But I think they've just missed on this, like from the beginning. First and foremost, there's no stakes. Again, like you had the Young Bucks talking in a backstage promo about how they're gonna like get the power and win the power, but it's like how are you gonna? No, you're not. Like nothing's even on the line here. You guys are just Tony Khan's making matches. You're flexing your muscle. It's kind of it's the same. We're in the same place as we were pre Double or Nothing at this point. And so I just think that there was an opportunity to really make this a big deal with some real stakes and some real power on the line, within a bigger story. And they just haven't gone that route. It seems like instead of this match being a conduit to like really making some fun television and having a fun story in AEW, it's like everything else happened so that this match could exist. And I think that's just the reverse of how you want things to go and to play out. Plus, I think Swerve has done a very bad job at picking his team. Like what is happening? Like the Acclaimed and Mark Briscoe, like, come on, like Darby makes sense, I suppose, but like Moxley's out there, Danielson's out there, FTR's out there, Will Ospreay's out there. Like, there's just so many other people that you could go to here, and you go to the Acclaimed and Mark Briscoe. Like, I don't know. It just seems like the teams are so lopsided with the Elite having their entire cast there: Young Bucks, Hangman Page, Jack Perry, Okada. Like, okay, that's a team. That is something. And now it's like this is like Invasion Angle, where you had like just the weakest WCW guys up against WWF powerhouses in 2001. It's just I don't see it. Like I liked the brawl last night. I thought it was a good way to kind of they're going to do this match, so they have to do something to hype it up, and I thought that was fine. I just think that all the context here is wrong with the lack of a story, and really just that Team AEW team is just wow. That's weak sauce.
Yeah, that was my thought as well. It's like the B team for the most part. On one side you have such a strong crew, and then you're right. I mean, you got Swerve, who's a top guy, Darby, who's a top guy, and then the Acclaimed feel right now, the Acclaimed feel like at the lowest moment that they've been in like 3 years. They don't feel hot at all. Right. I'm still a fan of Bowens. I think Bowens is a great worker. I think Max Caster is just cringeworthy lately, like not good at all. And Briscoe, of course I love the Briscoe brothers and everything, but it doesn't fit at this moment in time in this match. I mean, if you look at the past Blood and Guts matches, the first two were not great as far as star power. Last year's had a lot of star power in it. I mean, again, you had the Elite out there, but then you had Blackpool Combat Club. Those first two, I mean, were dominated by Jericho and his teams. So, I mean, you had some star power, but then you still had like Jake Hager out there, Santana and Ortiz, who I like, but just not really big stars. You had the Pinnacle, so like Spears was out there, but then you still had FTR. So it's kind of give and take. But I mean, easily like the weakest lineup that they've had in a couple of years for Blood and Guts. And they're running like a huge arena. So, they're running Bridgestone in Nashville, which is like a 18,000 seat arena or something like that. This is something I talked about on the show before, and how they're running just buildings that are way too big. I mean, they only have this building set up for about 4,000. Only selling the lower level, only selling about half of the lower level. According to WrestleTix 3 days ago, they have 3,300 out for it, which is like in the neighborhood of what they're doing for Dynamites everywhere, around 3,000 or maybe slightly less. So they're slightly ahead, but still, I mean, that is a cavernous arena. That is a huge arena to be running to only put 4,000 people in there.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that like it's little things like that I think hurt AEW, because Blood and guts is something that I think that you want to shoot big. Like you want to show like the both those rings or the cages, like, you know, in the context of the whole stadium, and get those big time shots. You know, I remember the at Allstate Arena, you know, when last year when they did Survivor Series, like when you go back to like CM Punk's debut, they were able to like zoom out, and then they got like the full shot of that ring in there, and that the double cage and all that, and it just looked big, and it looked ominous, and it looked really good. And they're just not going to have that luxury when they're trying to fit 3,000 people and make it not look cavernous. They're going to only be able to shoot it from certain angles. And if they do open it up, it's just going to look kind of sad when there's 15,000 seats that aren't sold. So yeah, this would we talked about this on one of our earliest shows together here, that like running, you know, unique venues that you can fill from the first row to the last row, could be beneficial here from AEW, but it's going to be a challenge for them to shoot this well and also present it like you want to present such a big time gimmick match. And I think AEW has done a pretty nice job, like just cultivating the blood and guts gimmick within the company. Like it's a annual tradition for the most part. Like, you know, it hasn't just popped up out of nowhere, like a la some Hell in a Cell matches in WWE when you're like, wait, it's Miro versus Roman Reigns inside Hell in a Cell. Like that's pointless. Like they've done a nice job to not do that. And so I think you want to showcase it as this like big moment in time on the AEW calendar. And I don't know, I just don't think they're going to be able to if they're running a building like that. We'll see.
Yeah. To their credit on presentation, and something that I know I've ranted about here on the show and Top Rope Nation before that I did notice last night, is they had the arena lit better. So
yes,
they've been doing for weeks this super dark arena where you can't even really make out the crowd. They've got like the blue and the purple lights with mostly blackness. You can't even see the crowd. Last night the crowd was totally lit, which is something I've been saying for weeks they need to get back to. It makes for a product that looks better on TV. When you flip from AEW to WWE, you see the well-lit show, and then you go to AEW and it's been looking very minor league. So I did like that the arena was lit up last night. So props to them for doing that and going back to that. The show looked better, I thought. But yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. It's going to be really hard to shoot this in such a big building with that big structure, you know, to not show off the empty seats. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll get close to the 4,000 number in there, but still, they're not going to be selling the upper deck whatsoever. So, you know, we'll see. This chat room is popping today, I got to say. I've been looking over what you guys are saying. There's a lot going on here. David checking in. David saying, I need you guys to go ahead and restart the show. I just popped in.
Hey, man, 11 Eastern, David. 11 Eastern. Come on. Hit that notification button. Hey, let me ask you, Ryan, do you, like, where do you think this story is coming out of Blood and Guts? Like, you know, we saw Hangman and Swerve had like their little encounter, or teased, you know, a big encounter. So I'm sure that'll be a central part of Blood and Guts. But like, without stakes and with that Team AEW team being so weak, it's like, I kind of, and we'll do a preview of this next week before the show, but like, I don't know where they land on this afterwards. Like, there isn't a bigger match for them to have. So this is essentially the blow off, I guess, but it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if the build out of this is just they really heavily concentrate on the Bucks and Acclaim dynamic. Cause yeah, you're right. There's not like they're going to tease Swerve and Hangman, of course, and that's something for down the line.
Right.
But yeah, like to build off of this, I guess it's probably going to be in that tag division, moving to All In out of this. But I mean, I've been a huge Acclaim fan in the past. You go back and listen to all the Top Rope Nations in the archives. I was probably higher on them than almost anybody from the get-go on them. And I wanted them to be tag champs so badly. And when they didn't win at that All Out a couple of years ago, and they put it off for Grand Slam, I thought that was a huge mistake. That crowd was so hot for the Acclaimed at All Out 2022. But right now, they just don't feel hot at all to me. And I'm sorry, Andrew, in the chat. I've been a big fan of them too in the
Andrew's
past.
gonna stop listening.
I just right now they don't feel very hot as characters to me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think Andrew, brings up a good point. I mean, Darby versus Jack Perry. I could see that being, an all-in match for the TNT championship. And I wonder, like, they have All Out, a couple weeks after All In. And so I wonder if, like, they're trying to, like, is it maybe they do Swerve versus Hangman on that show, like coming out of although I guess you have the Bryan Danielson factor, which also, by the way, why isn't he on the Blood and Guts team? Because that seems like a perfect moment to not only increase the star power of the team, but you've got Swerve and Danielson, happening at All In. So that seemed like an obvious choice that they didn't do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just selling that injured shoulder still is the only reason. I mean, outside of that, though, you're right. I mean, that would give it a lot more star power.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about Darby, Swerve, and Bryan Danielson, and then, like, the pesky Acclaimed, which, by the way, I want to second what you said about the Acclaimed. I gave Tony Khan a lot of credit, like, going with them while they were as hot as they were, and just running with it. And they were so hot for a while, but some acts fizzle, like acts like that can burn real hot and then fizzle away. I kind of think that's what happened here with the Acclaim.
Yeah.
So yuck. Yeah. Yikes.
Did you have any problem with because I saw one of our good friends was commenting on this on social media. Did you have any problem with Darby doing the rappelling from the ceiling right after the Owen Hart tournament? That clicked to you as like something that was an issue, or
not to me. I mean, I get it. I get why you look at that and be maybe a little bit uncomfortable. But I mean, they've done it before. Like Sting rappelled down, like on his final episode of Dynamite. So it's not like it's a brand new thing. So I guess, like, it's just a little too close to, like, the Owen Hart tournament. But yeah, I mean, I just, I think, look, it goes without saying, you've got to be careful with that. And I just think that they are going to be, and I didn't have an issue.
Yeah. I didn't either, because I'm sure they cleared it with Martha. I mean, I know that Tony made a point to call Martha Hart before Sting did it to make sure she was comfortable with it. So I'm sure she signed off on it. So I don't have any problem with it at all. I saw there was some dialogue out there on this, so I wanted to bring it up. But no, I didn't really have an issue.
Yeah, and I hope that they save this too. I don't need to see Darby doing this every night for the next 100 shows that he does. Like, I think it's cool for moments like that, maybe a big pay-per-view match or something. I don't know that it has to, like, because I think it would I think it would just wear out its welcome if it was every single week that this is how Darby makes his entrances. But if you pick your spots, it's a really cool visual, and Darby looked like just like a badass, like coming down from the ceiling like that. So, thumbs up. But I hope it's not something we see regularly. Like, we don't need to see it on Collision or Rampage or any of that. Like, just save it for big moments.
Yeah. Well, guys, that was Dynamite. I don't really have a lot more. Any deep thoughts? Anything else from Dynamite you wanted to hit, Zach?
From Dynamite, no. Are you going to tune in to see Hulk Hogan tonight on the RNC? Like, he's going to be speaking at the RNC tonight. I've stayed away from that television reality show the last couple days, and this is certainly not going to make me watch it.
You know my thoughts on that. I will not be watching. I guess I wasn't even. I was not that surprised to see it. You think he'll come out to Real American?
Definitely. That's all he has.
Will he have a bandage on his ear? Is he going to play the game like the crowd is?
Probably. He's a total goof. So yes, probably.
Oh yeah, it's not a rib, Carl. He is really going to be there. I don't know if he can't be actually giving the speech right before Trump, can he? I mean, I guess he could. This is the night Trump speaks, so I mean, he's going to be on. This is going to be the most watched version of the RNC, or the night of the RNC, however you want to put it. So He'll be there if that's your thing. Tune in.
Please don't tune in. But do you think he's gonna do the, what you gonna do once
Oh yeah,
Donald Trump goes wild? That's gonna
for
be just
sure.
so awful.
It's gonna be bad. But like, what else does he have to say?
That's
Like
true.
he's gonna be all catchphrases. People are gonna cheer, and I don't know. This is in Milwaukee, right? I mean, too bad Randy Savage isn't around.
Live.
Yeah, too bad Randy Savage isn't around to run out from the back and take him out with a belt shot like he did in Milwaukee so many years ago.
There you go. Now, there you go. If you want a little buzz coming out of this thing, if you want the convention bump, have a run in. Come on.
Now, wait just a second. I want the Dirty Diaper Club to come after me. I know I just said shot, and that is not meant to be, based on what happened last. I meant belt shot because on Saturday night's main event in Milwaukee, that's where they did, the famous in the back after Elizabeth got carried back, and then Savage took out Hogan with the belt shot and everything. Yeah. Not shot in that way, you guys. Yes.
Smart to clarify.
You want to get pulled from YouTube.
Yes. Right. Oh man. Well, if there's anything to cover on that tomorrow, we'll cover it here so you don't have to. So you're welcome in advance for that.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. Yeah, man. That's all I got. I won't be watching, but I guess I'll catch the clips on social media probably.
That's it. That's all you can be asked to do.
I'll catch Zach's feed. I'm sure he'll be live tweeting it all.
No. I got to draw the line somewhere, and that's it. That is it.
All right, guys. It's been a lot of fun as always. We will be back tomorrow morning to wrap up your week. Zach, what do you got going on? Tell the listeners.
We have a busy day over at Brass Ring Media, so follow us or subscribe on YouTube. We've got a live show today at 3 Eastern. I'll be on talking a little bit more on AEW Dynamite and also a little bit on SmackDown tomorrow and some other news topics. But yeah, it's our flagship show, 3 Eastern today, this afternoon. And we also have our late night specialty show with Robert Vallejos. It's at 10 Eastern, so real late night. He holds down the fort for everybody who maybe works some strange hours and just needs their wrestling fixed a little bit later. But I genuinely think it's a really strong show that you guys will all enjoy. So flag that 10 Eastern. The best way to make sure you don't miss anything is just subscribe on YouTube and hit those notifications. I also point out that we did a G1 preview at Brass Ring Media yesterday afternoon. So you can go and check that out. We previewed both the A and the B block, talked about potential winners, potential memorable matchups, just went through the whole tournament. So you can check that out. It's up on YouTube right now.
Yeah, they have tons of great content coming out, you guys. So check out Brass Ring Media for sure. And then you can find my show, Top Rope Nation. Thursday night is our flagship show. This is the week of the weekly night where we do our show. It's 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central on the Top Rope Nation YouTube channel, or you can find the show after the fact wherever podcasts are found. But I'd love to see a lot of the names here in our chat tonight hit up Top Rope Nation tonight as well. So check out Zach's flagship, check out Top Rope Nation, check out the late night show over on Brass Ring Media as well. But yeah, we'll be live tonight. Thursday nights is Top Rope Nation night for us. So I'll see all of you there. Hopefully subscribe to our channel, subscribe to Brass Ring Media. And while you're here, become a member of One True Sport. And we will catch everyone tomorrow morning. Enjoy your night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.